Palen Save Lama Rinpoche Tage Chevo Pende Den Shula Kaden Jempe Gone Jesonte Kuson Tu Jing Adup Sadu Sar Sanje Chedang Soje Chonam La Shanjo Badu Dane Chap Soje Tage Jin Soje Pe Sonam Je Dola Pende Sanje Dupa Shor Sanje Chedang Soje Chonam La Shanjo Badu Dane Chap Soje Tage Jin Soje Pe Sonam Je Dola Pente Sanje Dupa Shor Sanje Chedang Soje Chonam La Shanjo Badu Dane Chap Soje Tage Jin Soje Pe Sonam Je Dola Pente Sanje Dupa Shor Semjen Tamje Deva Dan Deve Jodan Dempa Jojik Dunga Dan Dunga Je Jodan Dalwa Jojik Dungal Mepe Deva Dampa Dang Mindal Wa Jojik Nyering Chadan Dan Dalwe Tonyom Chenpola Nepa Jojik Semchen Tamje Deva Dan Deve Judan Dempa Jojik Dunga Te Judan Dalwa Jojik Dungal Mepe Deva Dampa Dang Mindal Wa Jojik Nyering Chadan Dan Dalwe Tonyom Chenpola Nepa Jojik Semchen Tamje Deva Dan Deve Judan Dempa Jojik Dunga Dan Dunga Je Judan Dalwa Jojik Dungal Mepe Deva Dampa Dang Mindal Wa Jojik Nyering Chadan Dan Dalwe Tonyom Chenpola Nepa Jojik Ning To Chempe Paye Len Mantra Lodre Chempe Chukun Denisik Dupa Chempe Chamdro Chiantan Losa Chempe Shabla Savandip Ngutu Chempe Kunda Seneche Kache Chempe Lama Nipatse Sundra Chempa Drupe Jasenso Repa Chempa Jabla Savandep Tepa Chempa Rikcho Yonsu Se Shaja Chempa Topa Ngandu Juam Tinle Chempa Kada Nyampada Nikom Chempa Shabla Savandep Tamba Namla Grupe Satatu Trubju Tensen Chonam Shabden Ching Tempa Rinchen Chojo Jepadam Jiteng Gele Chempa Chapa Sho Jewa Kuntu Yanda Lamadang Trame Chuchi Pala Lom Chuching Sadang Lam Je Yanten Rapsone Doje Changi Gopanyo Top Show. Oh yeah, of course. Ai da so sem chen tam che lo chu su do wa xin je lab tu sa chu lam do wa xin je lab tu sa lam trul pa sel wa xin je lab tu sa trul pa ye xie su char wa xin je lab tu sa da so sem chen tam che lo chu su do wa xin je lab tu sa Chö lam do jo wa xin je lab tu sa lam trul pa sel wa xin je lab tu sa trul pa ye xie su char wa xin je lab tu sa da so sem chen tam che lo chu su do wa xin je lab tu sa chö lam do jo wa xin je lab tu sa lam trul pa sel wa xin je lab tu sa trul pa ye xie su char wa xin je lab tu sa. So good morning everybody again. This is our last class now for this course. Of course this could have carried on much longer. It is very condensed what we have done, but that is the best we can do. And so today is our last. We're finishing today, and then we'll see what happens after that. Okay, let's continue. So I hope you've all been well. I hope you've all had a really good week and not too cold. So please also remember about your motivation when you receive teachings and when you study the Dharma, that we try to have the motivation of bodhicitta, that we think we want to study, we want to practice so we can integrate the teachings in our own mind, in our own way of life, in our own way of being, so we can benefit ourselves and we can benefit others, and ultimately attain enlightenment, whether in this life or in future lives. But that is our goal, that's the end destination. So we should always think of that and always have that motivation, pure motivation, when we approach the Dharma. So today we are going to cover the last. So we, as I said to you last time, we spent a lot of more time on the first, well, really the first two of the Dharmas, because we need to really focus on those in order to benefit and in order to go on to the next stages. If we have not integrated that, if we have not completely assimilated that, we won't really be able to, there's going to be such a chasm between where we are at and then the final destination, which is the last one. It's like the result, the fruition, between where we're at and the fruition. So I think we're all much more in need of the four thoughts than anything else. But so today we will cover the last two, that says, grant your blessing so that the path may clarify confusion, and also grant your blessing so that confusion may dawn as wisdom. So for the third of these dharmas, the third dharma of Gampopa, grant your blessing that the path may clarify confusion. Lam tulpa selva shinji laptu sol. That's what it says in the Tibetan. You have both the Tibetan and the phonetics and the English. So lam tulpa selva shinji laptu sol. Shinji laptu sol means bless me, grant your blessing. And lam is the path, and tulpa is delusion, confusion and delusion, and selva means to clarify, to purify. So this is very much about being on the path. It's about the destination, this thing of, and also the previous, isn't it? The previous said, may the Dharma progress along the path. We're on the path. We're not at the destination yet. We're not at the fruition. We're on the path. And so what does the path mean? The path means purification and accumulation. Purifying all the more obvious, grosser obscuration and the more subtle, more and more subtle obscurations. So just like if we have, we have air pollution. We have air pollution in the city. We have pollution in London, right? We have all the cars driving around. We have all the different chimneys, all the different ways of creating air pollution. Now that pollution can be removed from the air. It can be purified. Initially, maybe we smell a strong smell of all the car exhaust, etc., all the trucks, all the buses. And gradually it becomes finer and finer and finer. So we say that is possible. It is possible to purify, and it's possible to clarify this confusion. So the pollution in the air, you could say, is like our confusion and our delusion. And it is just like the essence of the air. It's not really affected directly. The essence itself is not affected directly by the pollution. You can purify the air and breathe normal, fresh air again. After all, hopefully all the cars will eventually become electric cars and we will have much, much less pollution, right? Gradually, it is reduced and the air, the pure air, is clean. In the same way, our mind on the path becomes purified because the essence of our mind, the nature of mind, is not polluted. It is not disturbed. It is not affected. The what you call the obscurations are incidental, fleeting, incidental obscurations. They are not part of the Buddha nature. They do not harm the Buddha nature. They do not sully or make the Buddha nature impure, just like the air pollution can be cleared. So in that same way, all of our negativities, our habitual patterns, our emotions, our obscurations, our confusion, can be purified. And as it is purified gradually on the path and lifted, then this natural state of the mind that is pure in and of itself will emerge, will become more and more apparent. We can breathe again. We can be lifted out of the confusion. So this process of clearing the confusion, that is the path. That is the path. That's what we are doing. Purifying the mind and gathering the accumulations. And then we need many different methods for that. So when you see the word Sangye in Tibetan, Buddha is Sanskrit, but the Tibetans translated it, Buddha, into Sangye. Sang means to purify, and Je means to increase, expand, to blossom, to make all the good qualities grow and expand and blossom, and to purify all the negative habitual patterns. That is the meaning of Sangye. Buddha. That is how the Buddha attained Buddhahood, through purification and accumulation. And that is what we are doing on the path. This Lam Tulpa Selva Shinji Laptusal, grant your blessing that the path may clarify confusion. The path, of course, it's us who have to clarify that confusion, and we do it through applying ourselves to all the different methods that we have available on the path: meditation, mindfulness, awareness, the 6 perfections, and the 4 thoughts. The 4 thoughts that are so fundamental in all the teachings. I saw that when we learned all the different practices in the long retreat, every major new text we would start, it had its own 4 thoughts. It had its own foundation as part of that text. So you think you start off the retreat with doing, a long period of what we normally call the mundra of 100,000 prostrations and 100,000 Dodhisempa and 100,000 mandala, 100,000 Guru Yoga. And you think, oh, now I've done that, finished that. And of course the 4 thoughts that were before that, the 4 thoughts of turning the mind to the Dharma. Then you go through a whole lot of different practices and you come to the major, like the major Yidam practices, all of them, then you start again. start again thinking about the four thoughts, starting again doing a whole ngondro connected with that yidam practice. So it showed me throughout that, because I didn't know that before, that I thought the ngondro was just one ngondro, like the ninth Kamapa's ngondro. But each of these practices, again, are based on the ngondro, are based on the four thoughts. So that shows us how important that is. Turning our mind to the Dharma, and then using all the different practices to purify the confusion, the delusion. So the Buddhist teachings tell us that the delusion, just like this pollution in the air, is not something solid to be discarded. It is something to be dissolved, because it arises due to wrong thinking, to misunderstood, and a misunderstood approach we have, a confused approach we have to our experiences. It arises to mistaken beliefs in duality and attachment and clinging. And so all of that is what we are purifying, especially clinging and grasping, ignorance, clinging, grasping. Of course, the three key obscurations is ignorance, attachment, and aversion. But what we really are purifying is clinging to appearances as being real and solidly existing of their own accord. This strong belief in solidity and reality is the cause, is our ignorance. That is what ignorance is, the strong belief in duality. And that is the cause of our suffering. That is what then gives rise to attachment and aversion, grasping, holding on, and trying to run away. We say, chasing after the things we want, continuously like on a treadmill, but not getting anywhere. And then trying to run away from the things we don't want. And again, not getting anywhere, because we are going in a circle, right? We talked about that, core-wise, running in a circle. And so we are running one way or the other, away from or towards, but we are not getting anywhere. It means that we are continuously carrying on the same patterns we have been doing all along, and with that objective of achieving happiness, being free from suffering. But until we can see through that apparent solidity, until that ignorance is purified, then we cannot really achieve happiness. We cannot really achieve lasting happiness, because of all the things we have looked at, impermanence, etc. So, delusion, we need to purify the delusion, that is this attachment and clinging to concepts of things being real, solidly existing of their own accord. That is what the Dharma teaches us. Until we see through that delusion, we haven't actually come to the end result. We haven't come to the final fruition. So until this attachment to duality is unraveled, then we're still on the path. And as long as there's a strong sense of self and others, me, mine, what I want and what I don't want, and as long as we continue from that point of view, then we are only creating more sufferings for ourselves. We are only perpetuating our negative habits, strengthening our negative habits, solidifying our negative habits and views and beliefs. So we need to, like we said before, we need to loosen up all this knotted wool. Sometimes I think of, have you seen all these wires now that we are all using electronics? The wires are really strange, especially the wires that you have for earphones. Like, you can leave them down, you can leave them on the table, on the floor, anywhere, and they are perfectly unraveled. But when you go to them next time, you haven't touched them, they're all mixed up and they're all tied up in a knot. I always wonder, how did they get to be so knotted up when I didn't touch them since last time? So that's how our mind is. We have to unravel all these knotted strong beliefs and ideas and concepts that are the cause of our suffering. In the text it says knotted wool. When we lay, we have like all this nice soft wool that has been all tousled up and knotted up. When you lay it in water, that's how people do when they make wool or they dye wool, they lay it in this big bath of water and it becomes very free and loose and untangled. So that should be the result of our practices. We untangle all this grasping, untangle our intense holding on to. I mean, we may not see this intensity, it is so habitual, we don't even see it happening, but so ingrained. But this is the path, this is the clarifying confusion, this is the confusion about the solidity of outer and inner reality. So we say things appear, but they don't exist independently of their own accord. We've touched on this many times, and how the text tells us that what we see is a thing, and what we believe is a thing. It can be taken apart, it can be dismantled. Say what we call a cup, what we call a mug, what we call a gong, anything. We see this is just a name that we give it, and we solidify it into this existing thing, but actually it is a cup is made up of clay, it is made up of water and glaze, and I don't know what else they put into the mix, but each part, you know, has its own sort of name and its own existence. We cannot, when we take all these different things apart, we cannot find a cup anywhere, right? So everything is a conglomeration of different parts. We say when causes and conditions come together, it gives rise to all these different appearances, and we call it appearance emptiness. Appearance emptiness arises, all these things arise due to causes and conditions, but they do not have a solid, independent existence of their own accord. Nothing happens just by itself. It happens because of causes and conditions. So it is not independently existing of its own accord, in and of itself. That's what is meant by this appearance emptiness. Things still appear. Things are there. We're not saying the cup is not there. Of course the cup is there. I can pour hot water into it. I can drink my cup of tea. Things appear. They do not disappear when we understand emptiness, when we come closer to understanding emptiness. That doesn't mean that everything dissolves into a mist and like poof, it's all gone. I say it's appearance emptiness, but it is not a solid, independently existing thing. So what I think we sent you this Jamyang Chense Chuchilodra's verses of explanation of these four dharmas. So this great Nyingma master, in this verse he says, all phenomena throughout the universe, these vague, unexamined perceptions, are, when investigated, just like an illusion. This is the instruction for purifying confusion on the path. So for this, where we say, grant your blessing that the path may clarify confusion, the third of Gampopa's dharmas. All phenomena throughout the universe, these vague, unexamined perceptions, are just like an illusion. So we need to cultivate this understanding of things being illusory. The more we can cultivate that, like I said, it doesn't mean that things disappear. Appearances continue to arise, but what happens is that our attachment and our grasping, our clinging to those appearances diminishes. It lessens, and that is the path. This lessening of the grasping and the clinging and the holding on and the solidifying is when ignorance, delusion gradually becomes clarified. It is like removing all the dirty air, dirty pollution from the air. It's that process of clarifying confusion on the path. So he's saying that the path may clarify confusion, meaning that the path is what we are doing. The path is our life, isn't it? So the path is whatever we make of it. It's up to us. It is not preordained. It is not all written in stone. We have choices. We have continuous choices in the moment. So the path is whatever you make of it, whatever you make of your life, whatever you decide to do, whatever is your main priority, whatever you choose to spend your time on, that is the path. Whatever you focus your energy on and whatever you engage with, that is your path. But what this Chuji Lodro, Jamyang Chuji Lodro is telling us is that if we want the path to become a journey of clarifying our confusion, then we should train, we should examine our perceptions. He says these vague, unexamined perceptions, because we just automatically believe in this duality. We completely live according to things as being real. I am, you are, this is, and I am attached to this and I want that and I really do not want these things. So we are very caught up in the duality of samsara, which causes us a lot of stress and a lot of suffering. It is what creates all of our suffering. So he's saying if we can untangle this knotted idea, this clinging, this grasping, if we can loosen our grasping, whether it's grasping to painful things or grasping to pleasant things, but the whole thing is we need to loosen up that grasping, that tangled wool, all those wires. Let them straighten out. So then it pacifies confusion when we see everything as illusory, come closer to seeing things as illusory. So that doesn't mean that we see things as vague, seeing things as an illusion, as vague. It means that we come closer to this understanding of, even if just intellectual understanding of how things are not what they appear to be. They are not as solid as they appear to be. We cannot just believe everything our thoughts are telling us. And how we perceive things are not necessarily what is truly, what is the truth. So there are many examples of this, seeing things as illusory, like it says the mirage, things are like a mirage, like an echo, like a magical illusion, like a reflection in a mirror, like a dream. So like a mirage, meaning, we see things, the thing that pops to mind, of course, is you are in a desert and you see the shimmering in the distance and you see maybe palm trees and camels walking and a lake in the distance, but it's a mirage. If we know something is a mirage, we don't follow it. We don't walk for days and days and days trying to reach that lake in the distance that doesn't exist, because we know it's not real. So we have no grasping to that. Same with an echo. An echo we know is an echo, and it's just sound reverberating. It's not somebody calling to us from another place. We don't rush off to see who is it. It's an echo. We know it's an echo. Same with, like you say, a magical illusion. Sorcery who makes, or a magician who creates a an illusion. So, I don't know, sawing somebody in half or whatever. I haven't seen many magical displays, but it's that kind of idea. We see something, but we know it's not real. Maybe the public, maybe the audience believes it. I guess that's part of the show. But certainly the magician himself knows very well it is not real. So there is no holding on, there is no fear, there is no worry that this person is going to die who's being sawed in half, supposedly. There is no problem, there is no holding on, no attachment, no strong beliefs in this magical illusion as being real. Reflection in a mirror, we know also reflections are not real, right? You go to a hall of mirrors, there are all these places you go for fun, and you see yourself in many different shapes. Your body, our body as we are used to it being, we identify so strongly with our body. This is who I am. And then we see it being tall and being skinny, or being very, very fat, or being very, not straight. So again, we don't believe in that reflection. And then the most common example is the dream, to see everything as dream. People sometimes have difficulty relating, understanding that example. What does it mean, seeing things as a dream? So the idea is like in a dream we experience so many things, and in the dream we react to everything we experience with joy, with sorrow, with happiness, with longing, with fear, just like we do in our awake life when we're awake. Or when we wake up, we know that it was just a dream. So this is like an example of the enlightened state and the relative and the ultimate. On a relative level, the unenlightened state, we are living like if we are in a dream. We are experiencing all these things that are appearing, and we react with sorrow and with fear and with unhappiness and with attachment and aversion and jealousy, etc. But we are reacting to all these things that are not real. Just like if someone is in a dream, just like if a woman gives birth in a dream and she's so happy she has given birth to a child, so the joy of giving birth, and then the example also says that then in the same dream her child dies, and the sorrow she feels, the grief she feels when her child is dead. In the dream, all of that is very, very real. So like that, our life is like a dream, and if we understood how unreal it was, we would not be so carried away, or we would not react so strongly with our negative emotions. We would have less attachment, less grief, less suffering. So these are examples of illusion that we should think about, and that and to this idea that everything comes together due to causes and conditions. This is the key point. They do not exist independently of their own accord, and that we should try and think like that. And also in terms of our own body, in terms of our own mind, our sense of self, our body that is made up of all these different parts and bits and pieces and insides and outside, whatever it's made up of, liquids and solids, like where is the bit that is my body? Because also from the time I was born until now, it has continuously been changing. It is not the same body it was a week ago, and things go in one way, come out the other. Is that my body? Which part of it? Then it gets absorbed into our body, gives us energy, gives us heat, gives us strength. We also, things leave us to our pores, right? Evaporates. So there's all sorts of continuous change going on in our body, from the time of birth till the time of death. There's nothing solidly we can say, this is who I am, this is me, my body is who I am. But we still, of course, it's very precious to us. It should be precious, human birth. We should look after it, we should care for our body, but it's this idea of identifying, seeing things as real, is where we should try and train. And what this is talking about. So, appearance and emptiness, that things appear but have no true independent existence. And Gampopa says about this, he says, having understood the two previous dharmas, like that the mind may turn to the Dharma, and that the Dharma, and that, the Dharma succeeds, or the mind succeeds on the path. Then now dispelling delusion on the path, he says, first, by meditating on impermanence, the delusion of clinging to this life is dispelled. Then, meditating on causality, the delusion of negative views is dispelled. Through the meditation on the faults of cyclic existence, attachment to samsara is dispelled. By meditating on love and compassion, the delusion of the lower vehicle is dispelled, and the meditation on things being dreamlike and illusory-like dispel the delusion of seeing things as real. So, these are really the four thoughts, what he is talking about. The Gampopa saying these four thoughts are what overcome the four obstacles. If you have, I don't know if you have read Trungpa Rinpoche's commentary to these four thoughts of Gampopa, four Dharmas of Gampopa. But these are mentioned, these four obstacles on the path. And this is what Gampopa talks about here, that the four thoughts are the remedies, and the bodhicitta are the remedies to the four obstacles on the path. So let's just try and look at this briefly. I'm aware we don't have a lot of time. So the four obstacles on the path. So these are important because this is the reason why we're not enlightened, right? Due to these four obstacles or four hindrances on the path. So the first one is holding on to things related to this life. It's attachment, clinging, what I mentioned before. Holding on to anything with myself as the center of this world. Because that is really ego clinging, holding on to me, myself, and everything related to me. My views, my ideas, my beliefs, my attachments, my likes. Even sometimes we hold on to our dislikes. We are grasping to our own suffering, my opinions. So, basically, due to our clinging to a self, strong sense of self, then we experience all sorts of painful, unpleasant, and negative emotions, a lot of suffering. So the remedy to that is contemplating impermanence. And that we have looked at already as part of the first Dharma. But we see how important it continues within this third Dharma, the importance of assimilating the truth of impermanence. Of course, that we know that everything is impermanent. We know all these things intellectually. But the point is that we live our life as if we didn't know. We live our life as if we were going to live forever. And the teachings tell us that in a way we should plan as if we were going to live a long life. We should have hope, and we should have a positive outlook and think that I will and I want to have a really good long life. And I pray that I will have a good long life. And hopefully I will have a good long life. And hopefully everyone else will have a good long life. But I know that it may not be the case. It is very possible that it may not happen. So I have that strong awareness that anything could happen, you know. This is what we learn by contemplating impermanence. Anything could happen. Accidents happen. And they happen very quickly, unexpectedly. when we look at accidents. That is an accident. If it wasn't very fast and unexpected, we would be able to, get out of the way when something fell from above or when a car came, right? We would be able to jump out of the way. But accidents happen when we can't, and it's just like, phew. So, we know that we may not have a long life, but we should still have that positive outlook. But we should have that strong recognition of awareness in every aspect of life. That is the remedy. Then the second obstacle on the path is attachment to the pleasures of samsara. So the previous one doesn't, it says holding on to this life, to samsara. It doesn't say holding on to the pleasure. So the second one is distinct in that way. It's specifically for all the good things in life that we are constantly running after. Like I said before, we're so busy chasing after things that we want, that we could, at the end of our life, we could look back and think, well, what did I actually accomplish? What did I actually do other than just chase after the carrot on the stick? I might have had a little bite of that carrot, maybe just like I managed to get the tip of it, but it's still dangling in front of me. Maybe it's like, maybe we managed to get half of the carrot, I don't know. But there was a lot of effort spent trying to catch that carrot and trying to get a little taste from time to time. So it's that idea that we are chasing, we're so busy, we're so engaged with the pursuit of pleasure. We say like, we want it so much, we try it once, we want it again, we relive the memory, we want to repeat the experience again and again and again. That's how we live our life, of that pursuit of repeat of pleasure, on repeat, round and round and round, not getting anywhere. And sometimes experiencing that pleasure, sometimes not. But mistaking that for happiness, and we think, is that everything? Is that all we get? Is that it? So this relates to material things, like it's like going to Disneyland, going to these, whatever it is that we identify with pleasure, or food, relationships, shopping, anything that we sort of spend so much time holding on to, wanting more, enjoying, wanting to repeat, then being distressed and suffering when we don't have it. So, like the teachings also tell us, these things are not bad in and of themselves. There's nothing wrong with it, except some things, there is something wrong with them, like in terms of, the wider consequences and pollution and environment and all these things. But in and of itself, wanting pleasure is not bad, it's kind of neutral. But it's just that if we spend our whole life just doing that, we lose out and we don't use our potential. We don't really do anything meaningful. So it's a bit empty, right? Spending so much effort for so little. And that's like we're wasting our potential. So the remedy for that is, again, 4 thoughts. Contemplating the dissatisfaction of worldly pleasure. Suffering of samsara. Contemplating also karma, cause and effect. Thinking of the consequences of our actions is very important. So where like this attachment to the pleasures, attachment to pleasure in general, that means that we are always going for comfort, we're always going for pleasure. But if we have an understanding of karma, cause and effect, we don't always go for pleasure. We don't always go for comfort. We don't always make that choice because we are aware of the consequences. So depending on the consequences, we will make a choice. If we see that something has harmful consequences, then you don't go for the pleasure. You don't go. It's a bit like taking poison, right? Why would you eat something, even if that poison has been laced with some sugary, sweet taste? It might taste nice, but if you know that you are drinking poison, you wouldn't do it. So with the understanding of karma, cause and effect, we don't really choose comfort above all else if it means doing something harmful and negative. One thing that really always struck me when I, for example, reading Lama Rinpoche's book, his book From a Mountain in Tibet, and also hearing of Akong Rinpoche when he talked about when they escaped from Tibet. Well, not the Tibetans escaped from Tibet, but like when Akong Rinpoche's, Trungpa Rinpoche's party, Lama Rinpoche, when they had that long journey of 9 months of traveling through snow and ice and mountains, and they almost died of hunger and starvation. They had made a commitment and a vow that they would not kill any animals to survive. I thought that was remarkable, if you think of it. If you think of the landscape they were in, it was snow and ice, and snow and ice, and mountain range after mountain range after mountain range, and more snow and ice. And I'm sure there were, rabbits, mountain rabbits and deer and those kind of animals that they came across, and yak and etc. But they had made that strong commitment. They would not kill any animals to survive. It's kind of part of this, like having this deep understanding of cause and effect. How many of us would be able to do that, I wonder? I don't know if I would be able to do that. It's very difficult to put yourself in that position, really, and to imagine what it might be like. But the idea is having this guideline, moral compass, is so essential, because if we don't have that, our actions will be selfish. Our actions will be all based on me and my benefit. Whereas when you have an understanding of cause and effect, karma, ethics, moral compass, what is right, what is wrong, what is beneficial, what is harmful, it is not based just on me. It is based on a wider picture and the benefit of everyone, the harm of everyone. And ultimately that will benefit ourselves also, if we live according to karma, cause and effect and that. But it means we have this ability to discriminate, to know what's right and wrong. Then the third obstacle on the path is called attachment to the pleasure of peace. So pleasure of peace, this is actually like a advanced level of realization, because I don't think any of us really are abiding in deep samadhi where we experience bliss and peace in our meditation necessarily. We may have some glimpses of that, but I don't think we will necessarily have this, where I have to worry about this obstacle, attachment to pleasure or peace. But it means we are just, we're craving for this, we're wanting peace as opposed to no peace. And that is not the true understanding, because enlightenment is beyond duality. Enlightenment is beyond this peace, no peace. Like peace is not opposed to lack of peace. The enlightenment is not opposed to lack of peace. It is a state that it's not an opposite, you could say. The ultimate truth goes beyond this duality of opposites. So the remedy for this is bodhicitta and application of bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta, relative bodhicitta. And that we have also looked at in the previous Dharma. To some degree we looked at that, but it means we apply ourselves to do what we can, both for our own benefit and for the benefit of others. So it is not a selfish attachment to peace. I think what this relates to is like the obstacle relates to that selfish grasping. Then the fourth obstacle on the path is not knowing the means of liberation. We're ignorant of how to free ourselves from suffering, meaning ignorant of the causes of suffering, ignorant of the methods of how to free ourselves from suffering, which is the Buddhist teachings of, like the Four Noble Truths and all of the following teachings, right? So here we could say that, well, we are ignorant of how to help ourselves, really, in many ways, that we are incapable of attaining our own happiness in an ordinary sense. We are incapable of developing mental peace in a basic way in life. So if we talk about means of liberation, that is much higher than that. How to free ourselves from, this delusion and duality, then that is, even much more difficult than day-to-day mental stability. So you could say, yes, of course, we do not really know. We are ignorant of how to free ourselves from suffering. How would we be capable if we cannot even, on a very simple level, have mental stability? So the remedy for that is, of course, the study, the contemplation, the meditation, and all the teachings on both relative and ultimate bodhicitta and Buddha nature, understanding our own potential, and then receiving all the transmissions from all the lineage masters, receiving the Dharma, becoming a vessel that really can contain the Dharma. And the bodhicitta, we say for a bodhisattva, all the teachings are contained within the 6 perfections of generosity, patience, skillful means like a right conduct, diligence, meditation, and wisdom. So relative ultimate bodhicitta, and we say bodhicitta is the seed of all the good qualities that arise, both in ourselves and around us. They come through this attitude of loving kindness and compassion, and they are the remedy for all of our delusions. So we are very close to having to finish, so let's just now, you can see how little time we spent on the fruition. I think you should not worry about that, because we need to do the cultivation before we can have any fruition, okay? So the 4th of these Dharmas, we read the 4th of the Dharma saying, grant your blessings that confusion may dawn as wisdom. It's the 4th Dharma of Gampopa. Grant your blessing that confusion may dawn as wisdom. And Jamyang Chense Chudilodro says of this, genuine dharmata, awareness and emptiness. Dharmata means awareness and emptiness. Untainted by thoughts of intellectual analysis. So this genuine dharmata, sustain it nakedly as pure self-knowing. This is the instruction for confusion dawning as wisdom. Awareness and emptiness, untainted by thoughts and untainted by intellectual analysis. It is beyond thoughts. And that is what we should sustain. We should try and rest within that state. That is confusion dawning as wisdom. We should try to rest within that state. And so Gampopa, he says very little about this, and his commentary says, next, delusion must arise as wisdom. By meditating on how ultimately all phenomena are beyond arising and ceasing, determine that whatever you perceive or think is nothing but your own nature. It is then that delusion arises as wisdom. So this is very deep teachings on emptiness, the middle way, madhyamaka, so teaching the correct view about the nature of reality, the essence of all things, as empty of any inherent, solid, independent existence. This is the nature of reality. Selflessness. teaching that things do not exist, they appear when all these causes and conditions come together, and that also that this emptiness is not a state of nothingness, this emptiness or voidness. It is not nothingness, it is the ground from where all qualities can grow. It's like the ground, emptiness, like we have the 5 elements. We say 4 elements. Normally we only think of 4 elements. We have 5 elements of space. Without that vastness, limitlessness of space, all the other elements could not exist. So emptiness, voidness is like this ground from which all things can manifest. Appearance and emptiness united. So it says that these, when like that samsara means clinging to these appearances as independently existing, and then when we can dissolve this deluded clinging, then the appearances are experienced as wisdom. They're experienced as appearance and emptiness. There's no solidity, there's no also duality. So when a practitioner doesn't cling to also samsara and nirvana as separate, or appearance and emptiness as separate, when they're experienced as or recognized as inseparable, this is the wisdom aspect. So that is what happens through purification. Purification of pollution, purification of our delusions, purification of all our grasping, our clinging, our misunderstanding, our habitual patterns. And it is a gradual process, and that is the fruition, that is the result. And where we have to allow this Buddha nature to manifest gradually. As all of the kleshas are purified gradually, then our Buddha nature, the nature of mind, the natural state of things as they are, will manifest. And this is both external objects and the mind itself. So we talk about selflessness, emptiness of self, emptiness of other. So we talk about mind. Mind in Buddhism meaning mind is not a thing. It is not me, my mind, I am a thing. We cannot find it anywhere. Where is my mind? Does it have a location? Does it have a color? Does it have a shape? Does it have a duration even? In Buddhism we talk about mind as being awareness, clarity, the ability to know, the ability to be aware. But it has no limit because it has no shape, it has no color, it has no form. We cannot find it anywhere, right? So it's limitless, not confined to anything, not confined to birth or death or location. So we say it is unborn, undying, unborn. And we can ask ourselves, does this awareness, this mind, does it exist independently of its own accord? Even though we have such a strong sense of, yes, I am, I feel I have a continuous sense of me, I'm always me, isn't it? I'm not you, I'm not someone else, I never seem to cease to exist, I never seem to be able to get away from myself, right? We can go to the mountain, to the most remote mountain range, and it's still going to be me and myself together in that cave. So we have a very strong sense of self, but does it really exist, independently of its own accord? Did it exist in the past? Does it exist in the past? The past ceased. So we only experience this in the present moment, right? Our past self doesn't exist. Does the present awareness have a duration? Does it exist as a length of time? No. We cannot really find any duration. Does it have a location or a material form? No. We may feel like it is located in our body. Our body is our temporary home, but still we cannot find our mind anywhere within our body if we dissect it bit by bit by bit. So we cannot find this awareness existing as an independent thing. It is dependently related to events. It's a continual state of change, like the present moment. We cannot solidify the present moment. The present moment has no duration. The present moment has no beginning and end. It is like, not even, it's like finer than the snap of a finger. So it is, our awareness is this continual moment, like a reel of film, the old-fashioned reel of film. When they go, right? When you see them in slow motion, many, or like the way you make a cartoon film made of cartoon, there are many drawings. You have to move an arm, see an arm moving, then you have to have maybe 50 drawings to create that movement of an arm, and when they're played very fast after each other, it looks like Pinocchio is moving his arm. So there is this continual state of change in relation to our senses, in relation to, this, our 5 skandhas: form, feeling, perception, mental formation, consciousness. This continuous, seamless reel of change that gives us a sense of solidity. I am, but we cannot really find it anywhere. It's like that cup. Where's the cup? But we can still function, of course. We should continue to function. We should not kind of give it all up and say, I don't exist, there's no me, there's no you, and we throw it all away. And we continue appearance, emptiness. But what is the point of this is that our clinging and our grasping is released and is sort of allowed to dissolve and to disintegrate. So when we see this constantly changing experience with both outer phenomena and inner mind, is where we need to come to that confusion may dawn as wisdom, or you say ultimate bodhicitta, like ultimate bodhicitta, enlightenment. Like we try to rest our mind within awareness, clarity and awareness without thoughts. So this is what you do in your training in meditation, in completion, the completion stage, or Mahamudra, meaning there's no real method. Whatever awareness you have built up and clarity you have developed through your method, you then drop the method and try and rest within this present state of mind, present state of clarity. So I think that's as far as we get. So just to sort of pull together, we've seen these 4 dharmas where we're saying the turning. Say, grant your blessing that my mind may turn to the Dharma. So this is this whole process of assimilating the 4 thoughts, turning our mind to the Dharma, realizing we need to make our lives meaningful. We need to make our lives useful, not to waste it. And then grant your blessings that Dharma may progress along the path. So applying bodhicitta, relative and ultimate bodhicitta. May I not live my life purely with selfish motivation. May I see the sameness of myself and others. May I be able to be a benefit to others if I if that means just working on myself in this life, then I do it with a motivation that in the future, in the next life, I may be a benefit to others. So we have to have this long-term view when we practice the Dharma, not just thinking of, we have to think of here and now, yes, but we have to think of, apply ourselves in the here and now with a long-term view of that fruition, meaning lifetimes and lifetimes. And then grant your blessing so that the path may clarify confusion. So I apply myself on the path, and I apply myself on all the methods, relative and ultimate, to try and come closer and closer to see this illusoriness of things, to see that there's nothing really that is not such a big deal. Actually, nothing is such a big deal. We lose, we gain, we lose, we gain. Maybe we can even start to see this loss and gain. It's like we are playing like a juggling. We are juggling the balls, and it could become quite fun. We learn to juggle all these things that happen in our life. And then the last, grant your blessings that confusion may dawn as wisdom. So maybe that we may really attain this fruition of confusion dawning as wisdom, this awareness and emptiness, that we may come to experience that. So then, just as to finish off, the very last verse by Jamyang Tenzin Chuji Lodro says then, elaborating further, it would all become vast. But this covers the fundamental points. These 4 instructions include all the Dharma. So put them into practice in this way. So that is wonderful advice from a great Nyingma master from the 19th century. He died in 1959, so not so long ago. Born 1893. And from Gampopa, Lord Gampopa of the Kagyu lineage. And we've now come to the end of this course. So I hope that it is beneficial for you. And this is now the the last course that we're doing this year, because we're already in December. Time flies, doesn't it? Time goes so fast. So here we are now, December, month of December, and from the 18th and 19th of December till the 11th or 12th of January, we are actually going to have a break here with also all the online things of the morning meditation pujas. So then we'll continue all the online meditation and pujas till then, till the 18th or 19th, Sunday the 19th, I think. And then we will start again on Wednesday, the 12th of January. And then we will also, by then we will have a new program up. You will hear about our new program in our newsletter, on our website. You can check. So we will have more courses in January. And I wish you a very, very wonderful rest of December, rest of this year, and I hope to see you in the new year. So look after yourself, stay healthy and well, and we will then do the dedication. It's okay. And you also know that Lama Yeshe Rinpoche, he gives a talk at the end, the last Sunday of each month. So we don't always get the link, the Zoom link, until very close to that time, but we always do put it up either on our website, and Samye Ling put it up on their website, or on Facebook. So if you remember the Sunday, you will be able to find the links that way. Sư Nam Đi Tham Chế Si Pa Ni Thop Ni Ni Pe Tra Nam Pham Chế Ni Chế Ca Na Chế Ba La Thu Pa Ye Si Pe So Le Do Wa Do Wa Sho Sham Chu Sem Ni Rinpoche Ma Che Pa Nam Che Chu Che Che Pa Nyam Pa Me Pa Tam Con Ne Con Du Pel Wa Sho Ke Wa Di Nyo Du Da Sha Cha Chen Po Du Jo Ne Tro Wa Che Chan Ma Lu